This video looks at one of the most profound questions ever asked by the human mind. If God is loving, wise, and all-powerful, why does evil exist? This is the question addressed in the chapter, The Origin of Evil from the Great Controversy. The chapter begins by reminding us that sin cannot be explained as something reasonable or necessary. If sin could be justified, it would no longer truly be sin. Scripture simply defines it as the transgression of God's law, 1 John 3 verse 4. And that law is a law of love, Romans 13 verse 10. Therefore, evil is not a created thing, it is the rejection of love. Before sin existed, the universe lived in perfect harmony. Every being served God freely and joyfully. God's government was not built on force, but on voluntary loyalty. Obedience was never compelled. It was chosen. Love requires freedom, and freedom makes rebellion possible. At the center of heaven stood Christ, sharing fully in the authority and glory of the Father. All heaven honored him. But among the angels was one being of extraordinary beauty and intelligence, Lucifer, perfect in his creation, exalted in position, lacking nothing. He nevertheless began a subtle change within his own heart. First came self-admiration, then pride, then the desire for a higher place, then jealousy toward Christ. Finally, rebellion against God's authority. Lucifer did not begin by openly opposing God. Instead, he questioned God's fairness. He suggested that the divine law restricted freedom. He claimed angels would be happier without obedience. In other words, the first lie ever spoken in the universe was this: obedience limits liberty. While pretending loyalty, he quietly spread dissatisfaction. Many angels did not realize what was happening. The conflict began not with violence, but with distrust. Now we come to an important point. God did not immediately destroy Lucifer. Instead, heaven reasoned with him. Christ explained God's character to him. Mercy pleaded with him. Again and again pardon was offered. Why? Because God's government rests on love, not force. If rebellion had been crushed instantly, beings would have obeyed out of fear rather than understanding. Doubt would have remained. The universe might forever wonder whether God had silenced a legitimate complaint. So God allowed sin to reveal itself. The universe became, in a sense, a courtroom. The controversy had to be seen and understood. Only then could loyalty be secure forever. Eventually, Lucifer openly rebelled, accusing God of injustice and claiming Christ had been wrongly exalted. War broke out in heaven, and Satan and the angels who followed him were expelled. But the conflict did not end. It moved to our world. From this point forward, two kingdoms stood in contrast. God's kingdom is founded on love, trust, truth, and self-sacrifice. Satan's kingdom is founded on self-exaltation, suspicion, deception, and compulsion. And here is the central message of the chapter. God does not win by power. He wins by revelation of character. The plan of redemption was not only to save humanity, but to answer Satan's accusations before the entire universe. At the cross, justice and mercy met together. God's law was shown to be love, not tyranny. Sin was revealed to be destruction, not freedom. In the end, evil will never rise again. Not because God removes freedom, but because every being will understand the results of rebellion. Loyalty will rest securely on love. So the origin of evil is not a flaw in God's creation. It is a choice to distrust God's goodness. And the history of this world is the demonstration that love, not independence from God. The love of God is the only path to life.